Hello. So at the moment, I am doing a little series on God and our ADHD. So I thought there was going to be like 3 to 5 videos, but there is only 3. This is the third one of the 3. And basically, I'm talking about the reason why I'm doing this is because as ADHD people, we know that we tend to live a wonderfully colorful life. We can have many successes, but we can also feel like we have many failures as well. We might not feel like we're living with failures when we're children, but then it gets to a point where we do start internalizing this concept that maybe we're just not good enough. Maybe we're just not making the cut. We're not 100% with it. We start feeling that we're not smart in any way. We're certainly not wise, and we're not sober-minded in any way. And we start to hear the words such as that we're impulsive, irrational, and irresponsible. And we can feel like we are just, worthless, kind of pointless. What are we put on earth for if all we're ever hearing is how irresponsible we are, or that we are lazy, or that we're uninterested and disengaged, and we can start to feel like we're just not good for anything. So I'm questioning, where does God stand with all of this? How does He treat us? What does He want to say to us, with those of us struggling with our I guess low self-esteem or our low confidence that can come from, I guess, what I call the parts of ADHD that let us down. I have talked in previous videos of how, as a woman with ADHD, I certainly didn't go on to become the most amazing homemaker, for example. That played with my sense of identity for many years, because I am South American, and in South American culture that is valued quite highly. I remember traveling to Chile in my mid-20s and discovering that a lot of pop songs even were about women taking pride in their sense of looking after their man through, I'll never forget a song that I was listening to, and it's a bit of an attitude song, because this singer is kind of rapping to her ex man, and she's saying, who looked after you? I looked after you, and I cooked you the meals that you wanted, and I had your home ready to welcome you every afternoon or every night or whatever it was. And she sort of just kept saying this kind of thing in this song, and saying things like, she ain't gonna look after you the way I did, and giving you your favorite meals, and I just thought it was so funny, because I was not brought up in Chile. I was brought up here in Australia, where the culture is so vastly opposite to that. Like, we get taught that we women can go on and do anything and be anything, and yet insidiously enough we do still want to somehow be a good housewife, and it is actually expected of us in a more subtle way. But there's certainly no pop songs depicting that as an ideal. So as you can tell, I certainly felt that was the ideal to attain. I remember growing up, because I was the oldest, I guess, also because I'm the oldest girl, it was my job to get my father his cup of tea after he had finished dinner. I enjoyed that job because I love my dad, but yeah, there were many times where I didn't really feel like making that cup of tea. I just wanted to go and do my own thing, but there was certainly that expectation that, no, I should do that. And so there was this expectation that one day I would do that for my husband, that I would be making him a cup of tea after his dinner, and be of service to my husband in that sense. I have a very patient husband. Not only does he absolutely not mind that I don't really cook for him, hardly ever, but he's not even a tea drinker, and he's into coffee now, and He certainly won't let me make his coffees because I don't make a good enough coffee for him. So there you go. That's what happens when you marry someone who likes things just so, and no matter what you do, you're just never really gonna make it into his just so-ness. So, all right. So, today I'm going to talk about two women in the Bible, not men, two women in the Bible who I believe can give us hints of potential ADHD, or they are exhibiting behaviors that those of us with ADHD can easily get caught up in. So these two women were two sisters, and they are called Mary and Martha. So for those of you who might not know the story and the relationship that Jesus had with these sisters, so Mary and Martha were sisters. They also had a brother whose name was Lazarus. And there's a few stories in the Bible where Jesus is hanging out with these guys. So I get the feeling that they either grew up with Jesus, maybe they're family friends, or maybe they just somehow became good friends. Maybe Lazarus was a good mate to Jesus in his youth or something. But the fact is, Jesus has a very close relationship with this particular set of siblings. And he's visiting Mary and Martha one day. Lazarus isn't there. He's just visiting Mary and Martha. And Martha is running around trying to get the house sorted because it sounds like people are coming over. Like Jesus is early. Jesus is rocked up to this event really early, and he's just hanging out, chatting with Mary, and Martha is like pretty stressed out because there's things to do. So let's have a read of that story. And we go to Luke chapter 10. We're going to read verses 38 to 40 to begin with. It goes like this. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. So, okay, it sounds like him and his mates are traveling, his disciples. Sounds like they're traveling, and this woman, Martha, opens her home to him. So either she's inviting him in for lunch or for a meal, or maybe he's actually staying there for like a night or a few nights. Verse 39, she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to him and asked, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. Okay, we'll stop it right there. So I see both Mary and Martha exhibiting behaviors that those of us with ADHD can get caught up in. First of all, Mary, you could say she's being lazy. She's just not getting in and doing the housework with Martha. She's not helping her with the preparations. I don't know what these preparations are. It could be, like I said earlier, that it could be that people are coming over to join them all for a meal, or it could be that maybe because Martha has opened up her home for Jesus to stay, maybe she now has to go and prepare the guest room with the spare bed and things like that, get him some towels and things like that. I'm not quite sure on the details of this story. The Bible may or may not mention these details elsewhere, but that's where we're at. That's where I'm at with this story right now. So we could say that Mary, if someone was looking in at this situation and Martha comes up and says, tell her to help me, people sitting nearby could be like, oh yeah, true, Mary should be helping her sister. She's being a bit lazy. And then Martha is exhibiting the behavior of stressing out and overwhelm and doing all the things, because that's what we tend to do. She's got misplaced hyperfocus, right? She's like, oh my goodness, all the preparations and it doesn't, strangely enough, she doesn't I don't know if she's, I guess she's already welcomed Jesus in, told him to sit down, make himself at home, and then off she's rushed to get stuff done. So she's not really being a good host in a way. She's just like, I've got to do all the things. And so she's, yeah, just really stressed and overwhelmed. So I find that these two people in the Bible, in this story, are like exhibiting those two different things that we can as well. And I've certainly been there. I've certainly been there. Like, I've been the one to be looked upon as lazy. I remember growing up, my mum would be like, "Oh, honey, you're going to suffer so much in your married life." And I'd be like, "Geez, thanks. Okay. Thank you, mum." But she'd always say, "Yeah, you will, because you're just so slow at getting things done. And you're just lazy. And your husband's not going to put up with that." She'd like outright just call it. And I would be like thinking to myself, nope, I'm not going to marry someone like that. I'm going to marry someone who's going to be patient and who's going to love me no matter what. And so be it. If I'm slow, or if I'm like slow at doing things, or if I just don't make my bed every day, I'm sure my husband won't really care about that kind of thing. Now, it's true, I have been blessed with an amazing man. He knows that, like, I mean, I know that he does really enjoy a nice clean kitchen when he comes home. I know that he does really enjoy it when he comes home and our bed is made. But if I go up to him and say, "I'm sorry, the kitchen's a mess," he's going to be like, "What? What are you saying sorry for? What are you saying sorry for?" Or I'll be like, "Oh, I didn't get to make the bed today." He's be like, "We're going to lay in it anyway. Like, we're going to use it again tonight." Like, he's just got a really easygoing nature about him. He honestly does not care. I think it gets to him when things are like, it's been weeks upon weeks. Like, if I'm going through a really bad rut, did you hear that? If you can hear that, that is like a truck. I live near a main road, and I'm always hearing trucks, and I live near the highway too. So like, I hear everything in this house. It's very anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so I was just talking about I guess my hubby, like how easygoing he is, and he does it does get to him if I'm going through a really bad rut and weeks are going by and things are really getting out of hand. And it might get to him then. He'll be like, "Okay, this kitchen needs doing," and he'll just get in and do it. Thankfully, we are privileged enough to be able to have a cleaner/support worker that comes in every week to help me out with the housework. And I am forever thankful, so thankful to her. She has no idea. Well, she does, because I'm always thanking her. And sometimes I feel like I wonder if me just thanking her all the time might come across as like fake, but it really isn't, because I say it so many times, but it really isn't. I'm so deeply thankful every single week when she comes in and helps me, because if it weren't for her, my house would be constant chaos, because I have not had cleaners, and yeah, it's chaos. So anyway, back to the fact that, yeah, my mum used to say, "You're going to suffer in life because you're lazy." I don't think I'm lazy. I work very hard. It's just not so obvious. Anyways, so back to, we're going to move on to Mary and Martha. So Mary can be like a bit lazy here. Martha is stressing about all the things, and Martha goes up to Jesus and goes, "Hang on, can you please tell her to come and help me? Like, hello, things need to be done here." And in verse 41, what does Jesus actually say? He says, "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. So I think Jesus was being very kind and kind but stern, and teaching her a great big lesson. So he says, first of all, you're worried and upset over many things. But you don't even need all those things. Why are you stressing, in other words? Like, don't stress about these things. He goes, few things are needed. Now, at that point, he is potentially talking about whatever is needed for this event that Martha is getting organized for, or whatever is needed for him to stay. Whatever is the case, he could be talking about the physical things at that point, but he's also talking spiritually, because he says few things are needed. Like, you don't need all this stuff. You don't need to tick all the boxes. You don't need to run around left, right, and center. You don't need to prepare all the things. You don't need to be worrying about that when you could just worry about one. So then he says, or indeed only one. You only need one thing. And this is interesting because if you know this story, you know that he's talking from a spiritual perspective at this point. Then he says, Mary has chosen what is better. So, if we're sitting here judging Mary and going, oh, she's being a bit lazy, it's true, she should have been getting in and helping Martha. But Jesus comes along and says, no, she's chosen the better. So do we go, oh, Jesus reckons it's okay to be lazy? Or do we ponder a little bit and go, well, what is that better thing? Well, she was, first of all, being a good host, a good hostess. She's listening to the conversation of her guest, which was Jesus. But also, it was Jesus. It wasn't just any guest, it was Jesus. And so it points towards a very big fat clue that above all, in this whole wide world, above all the things and above all our worries and stresses, we just need one thing. We just need time with Jesus. We need time with God. He says, Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken from her. So he's very, at that point, I think, a little bit stern, and he's very direct, but he's speaking with authority because he is ultimately our creator, right? He has every right to teach us and to guide us and to help us ultimately live life the way we're supposed to live it. So he's basically saying, Martha, nah, don't focus on all those things. Those things aren't that important. Come join us. Come join me and Mary. Chat with us and listen to what I have to say to you. It was the super busy and stressed person whom Jesus said did not have the right focus. So, like as humans, we go, oh, we got to do all the things, because this is what we get told all our lives. We've just got to be busy, gloriously busy. And Jesus comes along and says, no, that's not actually what I created you for. That's not what I told you to do. That's not what I want you to focus on. The focus was indeed with him at the end of the day. At the end of the day, as long as we're spending time with him each and every day, we'll probably feel at peace with all the things that need doing. And even then, Jesus says, you don't need to focus on all the things. You don't need all the things. You need very few things. And I think above all, the lesson here is that we need our heart and soul filled first. Now, on that, there's spiritual fulfillment, and there's also the need for quiet, the need for downtime, which especially those of us with ADHD, we really do need. And even Jesus took time out of his busy days. He took time out, like, to just go and just be alone. There were many reasons why he did that, because there are many reasons for us to do that, and he was very human. But he definitely took the time off of his duties of walking around, visiting all the people, healing, preaching, telling stories, just socializing, He did take time off. He went and had time alone many times. I'm going to read two Bible passages where it actually shows us that he did. So if you go to Matthew 14, it says, after Jesus learned that his cousin John the Baptist had been beheaded, he went away by himself. Yes, even the Son of God grieves. So that's actually in that Bible verse, which is pretty amazing. So someone passed away, someone dear to him, it's his cousin, and he needed to be by himself. If we go to Luke 22, verse 39, it says, hours before Jesus was arrested, he went to the Mount of Olives and went a short distance away from his disciples to pray. He was in great emotional agony, knowing what he was about to face. So he's gone there with his disciples, but even then he's not hanging out with his friends. He's like going, guys, I'm going to walk that away. I need to be by myself. And he does. And we know that prayer that he says at night, oh my goodness, it's a very deeply emotional prayer. It just tears at the heart when you know what Jesus was going through for us, for us. So God tells us to do the same thing. And I want to finish off with Psalms 46 verse 10. God says, be still and know that I am God. That is one of my favorite sentences in the Bible. I turn to that all the time when I'm stressed, when I'm heightened, when I'm like just worried, when I can't sleep through the night. I remember those words. God sends those words to me. Be still and know that I am God. And that alone just brings so much peace. I'll read the rest of the verse. It says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. And I love that because at the end of the very day, that's actually what it's all about. It's got nothing to do with our laziness. It's got nothing to do with our misplaced hyperfocus or our stress or our overwhelm or our need to escape or our emotional dysregulation. It actually has nothing to do with any of that. Ultimately, be still and know that he is God because he will be exalted. And isn't that just so awesome? Oh, so awesome. Anyways, I will leave that with you today. I hope that this series has been wonderfully helpful to you, and yes, keep on going and keep on knowing that God is there with us and for us. He's not there to judge us or to put us down or to make us feel worthless. He's there to just work with us and to encourage us to just stop doing all the things and to not do that thing, not be impulsive anymore. Just don't, that's what he says. He's just a really, really good friend and a wonderful God to us. So yeah. Okay. Bye. Oopsie.